Right, I can immediately report a problem. I strung it and this lower limb was bending very hard here. In fact, you can probably see it's taken a little bit of set there. So I would have taken a picture of it, but I just wanted to get the string off as soon as I could without overstressing the wood. Quite why that's happened, I don't know, but it's probably because you can see it's roughed out a lot narrower that end than this end. But that error didn't really show up on the long string at all. But it just goes to show the difference between pulling it on a string that will just slip onto the bow. It's not a very long string, compared to actually getting it braced. I mean, it was horrendous. I panicked to get it off quick enough. I thought it was going to break. But there's ways, it's like all these things, there's ways around it. Reducing the rest of the limb, especially the upper limb, will take the stress off it. But also I can heat treat it there. But you can see it's actually deflexed slightly about where my foot is there. So, interesting. Like I said, I'm outside my comfort zone with that amount of reflex. Right, I'm going to brace it. I've got the video running so that I can show you quickly what it's looking like. There we are. That's just ridiculous, isn't it? I've never seen anything like that happen in my life. That's just completely bonkers. There you go. Right, that horrendous tiller you just saw when I tried to brace the bow, it's not actually quite as bad as it looks. It's one of those situations where it gets past a tipping point and then the problem gets worse and worse and worse. So it looks worse than it is. The reason being, well, the reflex doesn't help because I had to bring the tips a long way back to get them braced in the first place. So the slight imbalance that we knew we had in the bow, i.e. this limb was a little bit weak, starts showing up more and more. So we end up with this situation. We've got this limb had this horrible bend here. Yeah? And this limb was relatively straight. So you've got the string pulling on this limb and it's pulling along the limb almost. It's compressing the limb. Whereas at this end, it's pulling at 90 degrees and it's got this leverage. It's bending it hard. So the string angle, this is what they call the string angle on a bow. The string angle isn't the same on either limb. So it's making it look worse than it is. So the thing to do is I mustn't overreact and take a load off this limb to bring it round. That's a beginner mistake. That limb's weak. I'll take a load off this one. Oh dear, I've made this one too weak now, so I've got to weaken this one. And you end up with a 20-pound bow, whereas you were going to have a 50-pounder. There's other tricks I can do. I could heat treat that to stiffen it back up and then proceed slowly. I can also take it to not quite such a high brace. What I'll probably do, this limb was a bit narrow, I'll narrow this one to match, I'll take a little bit off it, I'll reduce the brace height with my magic ring on the string, I'll take one turn off the magic ring, try it again and we'll have another look. Is it a mistake? Well, it's only a mistake if I can't recover it, or if I give up. But it's like I say, you've got to learn from your mistakes. You've got to solve your problems. You've got to try and understand what's happening. Don't overreact. Embrace the problems, learn from them. But hopefully this is an interesting thing for you guys to see. That's why I do the videos. I could just show you all the perfect pretty bows I make. Aren't I clever? Much better to show you the mistakes, how to get round them. I might not get round it. We'll see. It's not over till the fat bald bloke sings. I'd done some more work easing off this limb, which was a stiff upper limb, but I didn't want to overdo it. and end up, like I said, with an underpowered bow. I tried it again at a slightly lower brace and I could still see the weak limb was showing weak. At that point I thought, well, let's heat treat that area, because it did just look like it was beginning to, you know, it just gone rubbery, it gone like a stick of rhubarb. So I gave that a fairly hefty heat treating. You can see I've protected the sides and the back of the bow with these cheeks, blasted the heat down there. So the thing to do now is put it back on the tiller, but I don't want to go and try and put it straight back to full brace for fear of, you know, recreating the mistake I'd already made, or at least, you know, exacerbating the problem. So I'll take a couple of turns off my magic adjustable string, check it on that long string. I mean, I hate the term long string. It's a string that will only just get onto the bow. It's not dangling down a long way, but the force is different on a long string to a braced bow. And I'll check and I'll get the two limbs nice and even, really even, before trying to brace it again. The basic problem was I tried to brace the bow before it was sufficiently balanced. So let's have another look. Right, you can see I'm sort of taking one step back. I've gone 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You can see here where some of the heat treating has scorched the side slightly, but it hasn't got through onto the back. That's the main thing. This is a point I make about a long string. A long string isn't long, and as I pull here, by the time I get down near a brace, I am pulling down at a slightly different angle to if it was a braced bow. And it is that string angle thing that makes the difference. The real problem was it was more haste, less speed. I'd got it about right, I've got the limbs back to here. I thought, let's get it braced. This limb had been stiff. I thought, I'll just take a little bit more off here, then brace it. I didn't take enough off. It was overstressing that limb. It turned into a stick of rhubarb. I've had to heat treat it. Right, so this time, before I brace it, I'm going to get the tips back even further, probably right back down here somewhere. Make sure it's nice and even, then brace it. The other reason I don't like clamping a bow is that the bow's no longer free to rotate and pivot with the imbalance of forces, so it's much more likely to look balanced even when it's not. But you'll get endless arguments about this sort of thing. I also like to support it where the hand supports it and pull it from where the string is naturally drawn. But you'll get as many different opinions from bowyers as there are bowyers. But hopefully, if the only thing you learn from this is that even experienced bowyers make mistakes, then that'll be a good thing. Oh, baby cat, what's the matter? Do you want to be let in? I think I've got to go and let the cat in. But I should do this first, because the whole universe doesn't actually rotate around the cat, even if she thinks it does. Right, so let's have a look where we are. Now you can see that heat treating has had the desired effect. It's looking much more even now. It's making some funny creaking and popping noises. That's probably just the cambium coming off. Now that is looking much more even. Yeah, I reckon I've done quite a good job there. That probably could be braced, but I might come back even further. We'll see. I'm going to go and review that. Do the video and it'll let you have the vicarious pleasure of watching what I've done. I'll let the cat in as well.